So I gotta get.
All right, it is 7 PM on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. We're going to open the administrative board meeting. Would you roll call, please?
I have trustees Chris Samples,
Here.
John Talbot,
Here.
William Luxinger,
Here.
Nathan Maz,
Here.
Jen Christensen. Here. Phil Motisi,
Here.
President Rick Worm,
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onabini. Here. I Clerk Sandy Maz, I'm here. Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
All right, so tonight we have on the consent agenda, July 26, 2022 administrative board minutes. Item 2, bills payable warrant list dated August 23rd, 2022 for a total of $66,348.87. And item 3, resolution number 22-28, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of grant agreement between the state of Illinois, Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and the Village of Davis Junction. At this time, do any of the board members wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda for further consideration? Entertain the first motion.
I move to place agenda items 1, 2, and 3 inclusively as consent agenda items. Further, I move that all items be considered together as the consent agenda.
Second. Jen makes a motion to place items 1 through 3 inclusively as the consent agenda. John seconds. Discussions. Please.
Jen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
William.
Yes.
Motion passes 702. Second motion.
I move to adopt items 1, 2, and 3 inclusively on the consent agenda in a single group pursuant to the omnibus vote procedures specified in the Illinois Municipal Code.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to adopt items 1 through 3 as the consent agenda. Nathan seconds. Roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
That motion passes 703. We do not need item C for the approval of any items removed. So move on to report of the officers. We do have an appointment that's going to happen at the zoning board meeting. They couldn't be, or whenever, because they couldn't be here this evening to get sworn in. So Sandy will swear them in. We're putting Greg Schwanke on the board.
So I need you to make the recommendation to appoint Greg Schwenke to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then I'll need a motion to approve Rick Worm's recommendation.
So to do that, I would like to recommend Greg Schwanke to be nominated for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll make a motion to approve Rick's nomination of Greg Schwanke to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
John makes a motion to approve my nomination of Greg Schwanke to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Chris seconds. Is there any discussion? Everybody know who he is?
Name sounds
He
familiar.
owns Black Hawk Auto Body down here, so he's
Ah,
an area person, kind of the old school. Somebody hopefully can replace Elmer, that we lost all of our old knowledge from.
Is there a radius?
Mile and a half.
They have to be the mile and a half?
They have
He's-
to be within the mile and a half.
He's far closer than that.
Yeah.
What about own a business in a mile and a half?
No, they have to reside within a mile and a half.
Greg is heavily involved with the Rockford Peaches organization and the Starlights.
Thank you,
So he's,
she couldn't reach. I did it.
should be good. All right, we're still on the,
You need a roll call for that?
we're still on the, any further discussion? We'll do roll call.
John,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Motion passes 705. That will be taken care of hopefully before or at the next meeting.
They have a meeting tomorrow night, so I'll actually swear him in before the meeting.
And we'll move on to Sandy.
Nobody noticed, but there was a typo on my ordinance or my resolution for the destruction of closed session tapes on the regular board meeting. It said that one of the tapes was dated 2022, which is not an allowable time in which to destroy a tape. It is 2020. So Mark created this lovely resolution for us, confirming that that was a typo and was meant to say 2020, so that we are in compliance with the state law. So I do need that passed.
I didn't see that. I just-
No, I didn't either
Process it?
until I went to go
Nope.
process the tape and I went, oh,
You want a motion?
I do need a motion. for
Make a
that.
motion to pass resolution 22-29, a resolution ratifying the destruction of certain closed session recording.
Second.
John makes a motion to approve resolution number 22-29. Chris seconds. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes at, we can wake back up, 7:06. Anything further?
That's all I have.
All right, move to Brenda.
In the board packet is the revenue and expenditure report for the end of July. And I don't have any updated numbers for my checking account yet because the auditors were here a couple weeks ago, but I don't have final numbers yet. So still waiting for that so I can balance my books. That's all I have.
All right. One of the committees, community development events, Jen.
I have nothing.
All right, finance, William.
Nothing.
What I do have to report
Okay.
is not about finance. I did get in touch with the property owner north of the park as directed by the board. Had a brief conversation with them. He is reaching out to his partners or the trust or estate that he has to work with. So he seemed very amicable. Is that the right context?
Amicable? Yeah.
Did you want to talk about your pet project?
I'm sure everybody knows as much as I do. The village apparently did receive the rebuild downtown, some sort of grant from the state, upwards of $3 million. I don't know how we proceed forward.
We got $1 million.
We got
That'll
3
be-
million.
Three.
We got 3
3
million.
I'll be getting.
That does all
I've
of our
already had to do.
infrastructure,
I've already
all
had to
that.
do some.
Thought it said $1 million in.
I'm sorry, Brenda, what'd you say?
He doesn't know what's gonna happen. I said I already had to do something for it.
Yeah, and Matt will
There's-
be here at the meeting in our next meeting,
September.
which is in 2 weeks, and he will, I'm assuming he will have some further direction for us at that time too.
One
I-
day we may just get a check.
So we can build a new village.
What's that?
One day we may just get a check.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, I'm
not
not
kidding.
holding my breath
From
on
St.
that.
I'm not
Illinois.
kidding.
Really?
Yeah. Brenda
Yeah.
had to do a bunch of paperwork on the finances for it already.
Even though we haven't done the work?
Uh-huh.
No, we have a meeting next week.
Nah, she just said.
We'll confirm with Matt when he's here.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Wow.
We didn't
No,
get
you're
the
right.
check
There's
yet,
something
right?
too.
No,
Not yet. We don't have a check.
We
yet.
know it's gonna work. Don't worry, it's gonna be
I
fine.
will
We'll be in
tell the
touch.
board that I would suggest that we entertain a little bit of, because this was supposed to be a private-public partnership, that was, we were required to submit a bunch of letters from businesses that would support this. There was one person who was very vocal about it, very outright about it. And I would like to engage that individual through discussions on what they think we should look for in a building or whatever, because it's not a building that we intend to own long-term anyways. So,
I've
Good
also-
idea.
I've also
What?
had several of the businesses
good
that
idea.
previously reached out to
What about the
you
building?
and me reach
To
out
consult
again.
somebody who might, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm just,
To
what,
consult somebody who might have an interest in it and who was supportive of the grant application,
right.
Well,
If-
this building.
if the-
Yes, the one that we're building.
not this building, part of the
Uh,
grant.
The grant that we got.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm not exactly sure what it was included in the grant. And. that's
The
what I-
preliminary work involved the water and sewer main all the way down to the far extent of our property, which would take us to the grain elevators.
that should get rid of the Pacific Avenue lift station.
Yeah.
Just going through there should get rid of the Pacific Avenue lift station.
It would.
Have a Gravity feed.
Subdivide 8 lots and put in a loop road off of 72. Theoretically, that's the completed project. Plus an 8,000 square foot building, parking lot, everything.
Which would.
That was,
No.
that was
It
the
has to be
fine.
a Commercial space.
The total bill or the total estimate that Willett Hoffman projected, I think was about 3.8 or 3.9 million. But we did talk about that if we needed to have the ability to build this in phases if we did not receive the maximum grant. So if the state came back and said, we got $1 million or $2 million, we needed to have the ability to build it in sections or phases. Obviously, we got 3 million. We could still, I don't know the parameters of the grant, but maybe we could still do phases of it or just build the whole thing.
I think it has to, the only thing that Matt has been very clear about was that it has to be built in its entirety by 2024.
So
I don't
That's
have
what
an
I
issue
read
with that. I'd like to see what he has, what he's gonna
If
tell us.
you remind me when I'm not sitting in a meeting, or maybe I'll listen to this audio and remind myself, I do have the grant application that shows the information. It's just a very large document, which is why,
I'm sure, and I'm sure the rules are convoluted because that's the
but I'm
government.
happy to send it to you
Yeah,
in
all
a
right.
Basically,
document that you.
we took the concept design that a prior commercial business, the prior property owner to the village was a business. They had a conceptual design for building a retail park, so to speak. And they did the initial drawings and renderings, and to be honest, we fairly mirrored it. They did the research and figured that long-term, it would be an ideal concept, and it would, how do I want to word this? It would sell, basically.
Yeah.
But they had a change in business model, and they needed to sell the property, which is why they sold it to us.
We've had so many businesses come to us asking for space.
And once you
land.
have that infrastructure, then they might be willing to build.
And I
That's-
hope, we
that's-
put stuff that's retail generated, not just some service industry.
We-
You don't get
We will-
nothing
The
on
village
something.
has to own it first.
Yeah.
But
So
I mean,
there-
a gym doesn't make us any money.
the,
Yeah, it's a waste of space.
several of the businesses that we previously had been had reached out to for letters have again followed up with me, interested in space. So I told them that this is a project, we were just awarded the grant.
Right.
And that as we had further information about space availability and things like that, that we would be in touch again.
Two
Was-
things. One, maybe, I'm sure the way these grants work is we're kind of stuck to what we submitted. I don't know if we could like deviate and do 2 buildings and half of it or whatever. I don't know. But to your aspect, John, we don't need another gym or not. That might be right, but even if one were to move or relocate, it opens up additional retail space in the village.
It
you
also,
don't.
once you have something anchored, you have other people that will come.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, no matter who's in it. So
Right.
that to me is a big plus. And you have the infrastructure, you have the road.
As long as we're not.
Either way. the biggest
No, well,
benefit-
I assume we're not giving it
The
away.
biggest benefit to the residents will be that we have hopefully a different additional retail here, not far away.
So I just want to clarify a few things for anybody who listens to this tape. It is 8 separate commercial lots in a subdivided parcel. The amount of times that I have heard the rumor that we are getting 8 subdivisions, residential subdivisions, has been astounding.
Subdivided.
It is a subdivided lot. I had the conversation with a resident earlier today that whenever you take a singular lot and subdivide it, it becomes a subdivision. I explained that Benny's is a subdivision. It is subdivided into 2 lots. Dollar General is a subdivision that has 5 lots. And so when you use the word subdivision, it does not mean residential, and that this grant is for 8 commercial lots in a subdivided piece of
At
property.
the end of the day, the water and sewer and the road is
Right.
Yes,
Agreed,
valuable
but
right
there's-
there.
we've been waiting to
There's
get
been
that.
a lot of
that it's-
residents concerned that we were getting 8 brand new subdivisions, residential
Where are we
subdivisions.
putting them?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't even ask.
They'll all be,
I don't know.
it's gonna be
Going
like
up.
towers. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even ask.
And I haven't.
So the fun part about this grant was that
Alright.
the media knew about it before we did.
By minutes.
And right, and then I was on the phone with Sandy 45 minutes after I found out, I got the first call from the media, and that's when her notification came through. So the media knew about it as soon as it hit.
I'm
They
assuming
had,
they're watching the state's grant page.
it was amazing that they knew and started calling instantly. And then-
I will say too, that by no means this is gonna be a long project,
Yes,
long project, so.
Well, at least
Well,
until 2024.
yes.
Yeah. it's like- our limit is-
The other part that was fun about it was on that day, it was Davis Junction good. The next day it was Davis Junction bad,
Why, what happened?
For the
Rolling
water.
Meadows.
What happened in Rolling Meadows?
the water.
Oh, I-
We should probably discuss that under something else.
I understand.
Well, if we consider that grant and this project as a work in progress, I'm sure the state and also us would have some latitude in meeting the mandates of people who may want to go in there. They may want something special, and if we can do that, and they are moving in,
Nope.
or if they're not, or if we have to make it so that it can be acceptable to a broad spectrum of businesses and services, I think that that's going to be a good thing for us. So we all have a lot of choices. Thank you.
Partially understood. William, you have anything further?
You say.
I do not.
All right. Ordinance enforcement, Bill?
Just regular stuff in ordinance enforcement. I had one item that almost turned into a complaint, but it didn't involve us. And I had to call the sheriff, and he went out there and took care of the matter and settled the issue.
Been a
So,
long-standing feud.
yep, yes, sir, yes, sir. And that's, let's see. As far as the EDC and the economic development for Ogle County goes, I did attend some meetings there, and they are a work in progress. And I think there'd be nothing but good things for us coming down the pipe, depending on how we want to do things. And we'll just do all we certainly can as a team. That's it for ordinance enforcement.
All right, streets and ditches, Chris.
Don't mind me.
Or to
Oh,
start.
I'm sorry, I jumped you. I'm still going Chris. I called Chris, it's
That's
Chris's
what,
floor.
that's why you confused me, because
I was waiting.
you were in front of me and I didn't know where you went.
And he has something.
We had the bid opening today.
Hey, whoa,
What?
Chris,
Oh, Chris's.
I thought you were going.
I already called you. You got it.
He'll circle back.
You might want, you might.
I have to go back to Jen over here.
So,
Um,
Jen,
What was her?
I'm over here.
No, little
You said Jen.
He did.
did we do community development?
former press secretary.
She said something.
I don't even recall. So there you go.
Anyway, Chris,
So,
I'm gonna miss this.
on the 3rd of August, we
probably more than you.
had our micro paving project start, and that was actually the day I left for vacation.
Good timing.
Well, it's not like I could plan it because you never know when they're coming or not coming, so. But as I was on vacation, I received a few, I don't know. Yeah, a few, alerts that, that we had some complaints about the microsurfacing. Which I understand, because every time we do microsurfacing, we have complaints because microsurfacing doesn't look like paving. Clearly paving is flat, smooth, and looks nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't last as long as we'd like, so we go to the alternative of crack sealing and microsurfacing to extend the life of our roads. And extends them from 5 to 7 years every time we microsurface. I don't know how many times you can do it. Fergie, do you know that answer?
I don't know if there's a
Oh.
number, but yeah, you can.
I should have
go for-
asked them.
repeatedly.
too.
Yeah, you can keep. 'cause it's
Yeah,
fair
but I mean,
surface.
there has to be
Yeah,
some
because
limit
it's
to
vanilla
the,
overlay.
to the benefit that you're getting
I
from.
remember them expressing to us, you can continue it until the base underneath the asphalt and the asphalt integrity is good.
All right. So, the thing with microsurfacing though, is you have to do it before it starts cracking, because if you do it after it starts cracking, then those cracks just radiate through the microsurface and it's kind of worthless. So when I got back, I called Willett Hoffman, and Fergie and I met with Dale Hamilton from Willett Hoffman to go over the project. And I asked him to, give us a report on the project itself and the microsurfacing of the village. By now, most people should be familiar with the microsurfacing because we have about 90% of the village. You weren't here when I passed them out, sorry. 90% of the village is already microsurfaced. There's a few spots that aren't. Area 10, we haven't done. We haven't done Junction Way. Is that what it is?
Junction ways.
Yeah, and that's so cracked up that we couldn't do that anyway. It's, it would be kind of worthless. But the letter kind of explains why we do it. And, the idea is that if microsurfacing, and according to the letter, microsurfacing is 1/3 the cost of milling and paving. So tearing up the old stuff and laying down new stuff. But it doesn't last as long. A paved road should, according to the letter, last between 10 and 15 years. And it kind of gives you what the integrity is of the road after a certain period of time. But when I first came to the board, I and pointed to the streets and took over streets and ditches or whatever you want to say. I interviewed no less than a half dozen different engineering firms about engineering projects so that we could get a better cost and I could get an overall idea of what the village streets look like. And every single one of them said that our roads are in better shape than any municipality that they service. And
Been
it's,
saying it for a decade.
and it's absolutely true. Now, I understand that microsurfacing doesn't look as pretty and isn't as smooth. It saves our roads and it saves us money over time.
Yes.
This particular job, we had a hiccup in it because there were some larger size stones, round rocks, I'd call them round rocks because they were round, that got drugged through, and that was an issue. And Willett Hoffman, there's some debate on whether or not Willett Hoffman should have stopped the job or not. We're discussing that with them now. But overall, I don't think it's really that huge an issue because they're already made to have lines in them so that when you run over it, it comes together. But they're going to come out and address any of the areas that were affected. And these weren't the complaints as I understood it. None of the complaints were that there had been rocks in the road or it looked that way. It was more of the fact that when you lay down two microsurfaces and they overlap, you get a thicker spot. Well, that's just, actually, I'm great with that because that just gives us more protection for a longer amount of time. But if you look at our roads, they're in good shape. And if anybody really wants to, call and ask me about it, I'd be happy to explain it or provide them, with some information that we have that I've gotten from the engineers. But as long as, I'm on the sit here, I want to continue to microsurface because I think it's a way to save the village money and yet have us have good roads. And the truth is, it provides us with a few other benefits because it's a dark color and it absorbs heat. So in the wintertime, it helps melt the snow and we use less salt.
It's a short-term inconvenience for an extremely long-term gain.
Yeah. Well, and this,
Being that wear surface, that's what the plows beat up.
yes, it does, they do, and it probably costs us more in blades.
So I guess I did not like microservice early on when Jason Grahams brought it here, but I'm all for it. And I looked at the microservice from this year. It is no different than the microsurfacing that's been done since we started it. And every resident's driven on it from the front of Junction Road to their home, no matter where they live in any portion of this village. So to be shocked at the condition of microsurface, I'm not buying it.
No, I'm sure they're just upset because we covered two roads that were relatively new, but that's how you have to do it.
Well, it's their not against the residents, but their concern was it affected them because it was in front of their house this time.
Oh, see,
I'm sure they did not complain when they had to drive down Junction Road or drive down Harvest Glen or Oval Crossing.
Right. I understand, and
It's only the complaints only come when it affects them right in front of their house.
We put a lot of money into rebuilding all those roads and building them nice. Just
Well-
The longer we can keep them that way, I'm all for
the
it.
company who did it, AC Paving, to me, has the smaller aggregate and it ends up being smoother. So I actually like them better. What's that?
Struck an Irwin.
Oh, struck a number. Who, AC was the
That was
other
one
one?
of the first ones we
Yeah.
used out of.
Well,
Elgin.
there's only like two or three of them that do it. And so far we've rotated between the two. And one of them has bigger aggregate, which makes it a little rougher.
The one that's on Harvest Glen was the one that had the bigger aggregate, from Elgin. They're out of Elgin.
Yeah. So is that AC Paving?
Yeah.
But it's, to me, it's a good program. It's in front of my house right now. To me, it's pretty smooth. I don't really have an issue with it. And if any residents are listening and they really want to talk about it, nobody came to me. This is just what other people told me. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on any Twitter or TikTok or anything else. So the only way to get me is either give me a call or come on down or send an email to the village email and I'll answer you and I'll address your concerns. It's a little, but I would like to continue with it because I think it saves us money and gives us smooth surfaces. You know, I went to, I went to Rockford this weekend.
Yeah, just drive around.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was pretty pathetic.
Just drive
You know
around.
what?
Rockford.
Let me put it this way. The alternative of tar and chipstone,
Yeah.
That'd be even worse. if-
you tell me which one you
Yeah.
want.
I will say, I did notice, William told me years ago, like, start paying attention to the condition of other roads in other towns, and even going into Byron, which, has decent roads, I did notice ours are, I think your words are paved in gold.
Yeah, well,
We have some of the nicest roads. around.
as I've gotten older and I've seen the, you know, the street projects around the area state wise, you know, you can tell how long, how old it's been since the last one because you can see how it just deteriorates over time.
Yeah.
And this will save us, but I'll get off my soapbox that yeah. We did have the bid opening for the fire station, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it and Bernie and I haven't talked about it, but that'll be coming.
Just let me know if you want it on the agenda for committee in 2 weeks.
I will.
So on the, continue on the roads, if I'm not mistaken, when we sat through all that, by doing the surfacing, when it does come time to replace the road, it does allow us the anticipation of a savings because the base is, you're not having the cracks where it washes the base away. You only got to grind down a top layer and you can just go with new asphalt, not having to rebuild the base.
I believe
Mill
that's
and
correct.
overlay.
Yeah. Significantly cheaper.
I believe that's correct.
Absolutely.
Unless you're going to mill and pave on a regular basis, then you're gonna have other issues. And I don't know who can afford
As I
that.
say, you'd have to have some deep
Or
pockets.
you would have to have very deep pockets.
Keep getting those grants, so.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Are you done?
Yep.
All right, John?
We had the bid opening today for the pond project. We'll get the engineer's recommendation in the next couple days. Sandy, if you could put that on for discussion on the 6th. We'll go from there. That's all.
Utilities, Nathan?
I guess for those who haven't heard. Rolling Meadows has a bit of a water problem. Or I guess a non-drinkable water solution at this moment, or bathable or anything, really. It looks really.
It
really
does,
nasty.
Is it our problem?
while we cannot assist with the water, they are our residents. And we do need to do what we can. I followed up with Nathan last night, but I have been in touch with Zach Olben from the county board, which I know Rick talked to as well, who's been in touch with the health department. The school district called me yesterday morning inquiring for contact information so they can find out what they can do to assist their children or the children that they have in the district. The village unfortunately did not find out about the water being turned off for 3 days until the water had been turned back on. So in the future, I have now had several contacts with people out in Rolling Meadows who have my cell phone number, who know I don't care if it's a Friday night. If you lose water, call us. We will set up a clean water source. And Ogle County Emergency Management discussed that, you know, they know in the future, perhaps they can do something. My goal at this point is to see if I can find a source for large drinking, like gallons of water be donated, because we have a drinking source where people can continually fill up that we're happy to keep open. I think I sat out there for 4 hours that day, and I've offered to several other people to just schedule time and we'll access the drinking source. But handing out bottles of water doesn't give the residents something to fill up. So I did discuss with Zach Oltman that if we do a donation, I'd really like to see a donation of gallons of water so that the residents have the ability to come and refill the containers at our station.
It's called La Monica Beverages. They, the alcoholic beverage industry is very notorious for donating water during crises. And a lot of times they have them by the pallets.
Yeah.
There's a few of them out there.
Well,
It leads me back to my concern though. I'll reach out to them for that source, but I really am looking for a donation. Like if emergency management can come up with a donation, I'd really like to see a donation of the larger gallons or 2 gallons or the 5 gallons of water so that these people don't have to continually run back to us for clean water and can store more at a time. Because they were without water for an entire weekend and
Yeah.
right before school started.
What was the issue?
They had a main break and when they went to go fix it, they had something else happen. And they just.
It looked like mud from the
So
pictures. I
Fergie,
saw. It
Fergie,
was
you can
really
correct me
gross.
if I'm wrong, but with
If
the
you were getting
history of
anything
this,
out.
those their water lines were put in the early seventies, mid seventies. They have no way to flush their lines. They don't have hydrants,
They have a few flushers,
but not,
not,
they don't, but every time they, during this leak process, they turned off the water and turned the water back on, they stir up sediment.
Yeah.
And so they did it repeatedly,
yes.
turning off, trying to find these leaks. And so really, I mean, even connecting our water to it at this point would not be a instant solution for them. Because as soon as you turn on our water, we're gonna start disturbing disturbing the lines from a different direction. Even with, even if we drop the pressure down where we think it could handle it, it's still going to be an issue. What they need to do is be able to get those lines flushed, preferably replaced, and get them out from underneath the homes.
Each of my understanding is that we've offered to hook up and help and to do as much as we can on our end to provide a source for that to come up to, but the owners of the establishment out there have refused our assistance.
The last,
And they were fine going with what they have. Obviously, that's not a viable option for our residents long-term. I mean, obviously, this isn't the first time this has happened. They've had some problems there before. Obviously, every time it shuts down, it's gonna be an issue. I mean, we're one bit of pressure away from this thing being something greater than it is now. I mean, that's not good. So
I hope they'll talk with us and start working on,
Certainly,
that?
certainly.
They're not interested.
Well,
either way, hopefully with increased pressure, they will come around and talk.
with the
in time, they will have to favor us and get this thing accomplished for those residents. They're very near and dear and they've got to survive. They're just like us. They're part of Davis Junction and our health and welfare and safety. I know is on all our minds. I certainly will do everything that I can on my part that I support and the Rolling Meadows establishment, our residents over there, so that we can do anything and everything to get this thing resolved, so that everybody wins and we don't, and that's it.
Wasn't the boil order lifted?
Well, apparently, according to some of the residents that I spoke to out there, they've been under a boil order for almost 6 weeks now. And it was finally lifted this last Thursday.
Signs were still up yesterday.
Well,
Yeah.
so Rolling Meadows has graciously allowed me to be a part of their private community chats that they have now, with the understanding that I'm only there to see what the village can do to assist. And one of the letters sent, somebody keeps screenshotting some of the information. And one of the emails went out that said that the boil order had been lifted, but the sign, I'm not shocked, the signs are still there.
So whether
too difficult to put them back up so quickly, but
the two previous owners, what you said, the two previous owners before the current owners, neither one of those were interested in connecting to the water. Unfortunately, in the village,
We negotiated with one of them.
we negotiated with the Harts.
Didn't like the
With
price.
Hart.
Been that long ago?
Yes,
Mhm.
and then Hawk had no interest whatsoever.
it's a costly move on their part. I mean, to update everything. So
It absolutely is. And I did talk.
Didn't get real far because
Once
We
we found
did.
out that that line was there,
we did
Yeah.
with a rate and then we started negotiating we were limiting the surcharge of which they were going
Exactly.
to
We're limiting what they could
apply
charge
for
them.
infrastructure.
I mentioned that to a few of the residents that I had the opportunity to speak with, that the village, even if we do connect, will still be looking out for the residents' benefit, and we will not. The village was unwilling at the time, and I told them that I suspect our current board would be in the same boat, would be unwilling to allow there to not be a cap on the amount of money that they could be charged, because it's unfair for our residents to be paying 15 or $5.25 per 1,000 gallons and then pay $25 per 1,000 gallons. So I did mention that the village board in previous negotiations had also looked out for the residents to ensure that there was no gouging.
Well, like I say, if they are residents, they would pay the same rate that people in the other parts of the
Well,
subdivisions pay.
Right.
I don't
period.
remember
To
if you
make
were,
money on
but,
it.
well,
He was.
we tried,
we tried to do it as a bulk water system.
but originally they
Oh.
wanted, the property owners wanted each resident to pay their rate to the village. We determined that that couldn't be done because they weren't gonna put meters on everybody's house and it wasn't our infrastructure. So then it was a bulk water sale to the property owner. But then we were going to cap what they could in turn charge the resident because they needed to recap
Recapture their
recap an infrastructure
It's
fee.
still their
They didn't
infrastructure.
put
They still have to
nothing-
maintain.
It's still there.
And he didn't, the
He didn't
owner
put
want
any in.
control to turn water off if it was not paid. I think that was also.
Well, if it was going to us, he wouldn't have that option.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but that was
It's just that
something
we-
else that they wanted in there that we didn't want.
The part that makes it difficult is this is the whole property is a business.
Mhm.
And that's what makes everything so different from being a regular residential.
And it's
Oh.
regulated different.
I had a resident
No.
ask me if they could just pay to have a water line drug to their house. And I
Yeah,
said,
right. I wish we
unfortunately,
could.
no.
but
I mean, I really wish we could go flip the switch now and turn our
Yeah.
water on to all of them. But that's, we can't.
Well, we'd have to put,
And wells are not illegal within the village. I think Sandy just the other day said we have like 5 people still on wells.
No, but a continuous
No, the-
negligence, I think eventually can lead up to action on.
What,
Would
If the
hold.
Yeah,
well were
what
to
is-
fail,
Yeah.
then we
Then
might
they
have a
have to hook.
discussion.
If the well
Until
fails.
the well
Right.
fails, though, it's
Mhm.
like in this situation, it wasn't a well issue, it was an infrastructure issue, so it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, Always part of the
Issues.
infrastructure, right?
But at this point, I think Nathan and I and Fergie will stay on top of what's going on out there and just try to continue to support the residents when and where we can.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank Sandy and Fergie for their time and efforts and all this too, so.
Yes,
But
thank you both.
I think that's
didn't even know
all I have right at the moment.
All right, under economic development.
Oh,
Yes, we'll go back around. Oh, Jen Psaki, that's the name I was looking for. Not Jenny.
I forgot to discuss this under me, and then Nathan had asked me about this last meeting, and didn't have an answer then. So I reached out to BNF, based upon our previous discussions that I need help with zoning. I cannot continue to manage these individuals contacting me 25 times when I've gone on a vacation. So, in addition to doing my additional workload. So I reached out to BNF and they said for a zoning person to handle all of their stuff, they do have an hourly rate of $100 per hour. And kind of looking around, that seems about pretty in line with what, third-party services would be for that. More important to me also is we discussed a possible code enforcement and property maintenance. And that one is also currently in our contract at $70 an hour. So both of these are already in our existing contract. We would just need to authorize them and we can limit how many hours per week we want them to spend on it. We just kind of have to guide them as to what it is we want.
Well, the zoning goes back, the applicant pays for that.
The zoning is a recoverable cost fee.
So it doesn't matter, then you can go forward, in my opinion, you can go forward with that. Providing we're really gonna recover it, not give it away.
No, Brenda and I stay on top of those.
Well, we have in the past.
Now, Brenda and I stay on top of those. The only time
Not
I can think of
personally.
in my tenure that somebody went over and above the recoverable cost agreement was when a residential homeowner had to file
I
an
remember.
allowance of solar, but we ended up changing our code shortly thereafter, so Rick did waive.
Well, we can't lose any money in that one, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
so,
don't-
but they are.
I know we
recoverable costs.
recover the inspection fees as a part of the permitting. How
We
is it
do.
that you recover the other amount of money?
I don't know that you do.
So $70 now, you're not gonna recover, no.
Speaking of code,
Or $100?
Yes.
100 you will.
You're gonna talk about how old ours are. We can talk about that second.
no.
Okay.
The one retail business we have in town, I won't name it by names, but it is the most blatant life safety and fire code violation I've ever seen in my life. It had a cart of charcoal blocking the exit. Literally.
It doesn't burn.
So,
Was it the matchlight stuff?
we
Did they
don't
recently
have
steal their parking
somebody who takes on that role at the moment. That would be the code enforcement and property maintenance responsibility, but I can't do that, and we don't have a full-time fire department to do that. So, Back to I would like to retain BNF to handle the code enforcement. One, I think it makes it a third party, so nobody can, there's no biased issues. Two, our building inspector comes in here almost daily and reminds me about all of these new violations that he's seen. And he's like, so what are you guys doing about them? So he's the one who's actually pointing them out to us too, that there are additional issues out there just not being addressed.
How much time are we expecting to utilize them for?
I would anticipate in the beginning, I think we originally, even with Casper, had like 3 to 5 hours per week. We asked him to designate to that.
Yeah.
And then as people build a relationship with the gentleman who, I think that will go down too, especially as he can do the door knock, hey, you know.
And summers would be busier.
Yeah, and
For
obviously
sure.
summers would be busier. Things definitely go down in the winter, even with the building side.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with both.
So we're looking at, I mean, if it's $500 a week, we're looking at 26,000 to roughly hire someone to enforce our codes and
Well, that's,
hang tags and
That's
notify
just
of us of.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
but how
assuming
much
that
of
he'd be doing stuff every week. And
Right.
again, there's about 5 months out of the year where I don't.
And how
know if
much
there'd
does it
be
cover?
any work in winter.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I assume in winter it would be inoperable vehicles
Mhm.
and then the rest would be building code violations. You're not really.
I think it'd be
gonna
worth
see
a shot to
both.
see how
See how it goes.
absolutely nitpicky they start to get to try to.
I'm all for enforcing codes.
So, and honestly, it's already a part of our existing contract. We just have to tell them how many hours we want. And so I think that if we at some point realize that maybe we're unhappy with the service, then we just quit using the service again. But I'd like to start at, honestly, I guess I'd like to start at, I'm gonna go high, 5 to 8 hours per week for a month or two, or even, and let them kind of see how many they actually need. But they would do all the letter writing, they would do all the mailing, they would do everything that I'm doing or Bill's doing. And so this would relieve both of us from that.
That's fine by me.
How do we get,
Oh,
don't they have to be sworn to do the enforcement work?
No,
No, they're a company providing
no.
the service.
there already are code enforcement.
No, I know, okay, I know, well,
They don't
That's
have
for
any more
building,
authority than we.
but not
so.
for the
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah, no, they don't have any more authority than you do.
How
We
would they
can
work
get them
with
in the court,
Bill?
they can't. You know,
Yes, they can.
That's a really good question.
We,
How it-
we have to, we,
Huh?
How are they gonna mix with Bill? Like, how are the cohesiveness of the two
So
units? gonna be?
essentially, that's a very good question, but essentially, we wouldn't have any hands-on process anymore. It would simply, if Bill sees a violation, he would just
And
notify.
notify them?
Or somebody
notify-
complains to Bill and he can pass it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
notify
He's
the office and.
A
we-
liaison
like
or
that idea.
the
We are
point of
before.
contact, and then
Can I switch?
then what happens in my job?
you
What
can
do
call
want
them
me to-
and
What am I
inquire about
gonna do?
everything that's going on all the time.
You would still be the first to go out and look before we send them if somebody called you.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
that's what I think.
Well,
Yeah,
Make sure,
but
make sure it's
it-
valid.
Here's the thing, Bill, your job as ordinance enforcement isn't just enforcing ordinances. It's also looking at the ordinances that we have and making sure that they're up to date and doing things like that. So it's much more comprehensive as well.
You know,
It would free you some time up to get
Yeah.
the important stuff kind of
Yeah,
updated.
and we all work,
Hmm.
I mean, not we all, now that I work here, but we used, as trustees, you guys work full-time outside the village. This would free up that time too, so that we have somebody else handling
You
it.
can legislate more.
Who are they gonna report to though?
Oh, no.
Who are they gonna
I'm co-
report to me,
You're gonna go
to
to
Rick? or-
report to Sandy. like we do.
Oh, wait,
Yeah, and honestly, here's the reason that I like them reporting to the office is because we have a spreadsheet as to what it is that they're working on. And so when a bill comes in, Brent is able to just pull up the spreadsheet and confirm the bill before we pay it. If we have other parties handling it, it gets a little, who's touching what? How do we confirm?
So,
that that's what's
okay, I'm not
happening?
getting
you have
reduced
the
and I'm
money?
not giving anything up.
Nope.
Well, you won't be going out to check on them anymore, and you won't be signing letters anymore, and I won't be typing you letters
Do
anymore.
you have budget?
But we're not removing a trustee spot. That's, I think.
No.
what
No,
he's-
no,
what he's
no.
concerned
Yeah,
about.
you
on,
will be
keep
ordinance
on.
enforcement. I will confirm that, but I suspect yes.
I'm not gonna cross the name off the.
So is anybody have
If
any,
you have the budget, I'm okay with it.
does anybody have an objection
No.
to me telling, we already have a contract, so I don't should or anything, so,
Let's just try it.
all right, I'm
Sure.
gonna tell them start 5 to 8, and let's touch base in a week or two and maybe see how much of that we actually need.
We need to increase our paper budget.
Well, Andy, I'd like to hear more about it with what they've done with other municipalities, how this has worked out.
Well, I would say when we first start doing it, share the information with Bill, what they're sending in, so he can see it as well.
Yeah.
That way he can follow up on it.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop, but they
Oh,
do
okay.
this for other municipalities in our area that I've
Yeah.
talked to the clerks and they seem very happy with the services.
This is why our Google rating is so low.
What is our rating on Google?
1 star.
No, it's more than that, but there is a 1-star review.
It's gonna
Um,
change.
So that deals with the code enforcement. How about the zoning?
Same thing, that's fine.
Does everybody have an objection if the next commercial
I'm
zoning
okay with
that
it.
comes in, let's use them?
Let's try it.
All right,
Cause that's recapture.
that is recaptured.
Oh, then I'm all for that.
Yeah, no, the zoning fees. are
Zoning is
captured.
on the
As
applicant.
long as I don't
Yes.
gotta pay for it.
No, so anything that the village pays for during a zoning process is they sign a recoverable fee agreement, so that one we will.
Oh, that's perfect.
You like that, don't
And
you?
then also,
do.
it's the same people that are checking everything, setting everything up.
Is that in place of fire safety consultants?
Uh,
Are they gonna review that side of it too?
they have not been because BNF has the fire safety people, so they've been reviewing them.
I'm fine with it.
So yes. And then, not related to this, but quasi related, we did recently have a hiccup with a home builder here within the village. And so BNF has got in. They've always been very good about setting forth what it is that they want when they reach out to plan review. They always say, I need your plan on this page to say this language, here's why. And so they've also asked when people do that, that they highlight it and then send a cover letter saying, hey, here's the change I made. I highlighted it on this page. Well, we had a home builder that wasn't doing that. And we had some home plans go back and forth a few times and it got a little messy. And so BNF did send me a letter saying that they will approve these plans at this time, but moving forward, they will be sticking to their guns on what it is that they've asked for. And I felt that that was a fair settlement with that developer.
All right.
That's all I have.
All right. That's all. Full circle.
I know.
Only because of circle
You
back.
said Jen again. You said Jen again, didn't you?
Jen
Yes.
Zaki,
The press secretary.
because she said circle back, and that was Jen Saki's favorite statement.
You're not listening.
All right, economic development. Obviously, we know the economic development with the grant and then hopefully with the park, that will spur some more economic development, but the discussion, the Ogle County Economic Development Committee. Bill's been attending, he brought it up to the village board before. And you guys were basically of the mind to let him keep attending. Chris, did you have plans
No,
to attend?
I'm going to. I haven't had the time. Well, it hasn't fit in yet, but I'm going to go to one sooner or later. Probably later. Well, they have one, this month and I can't go to that either. so-
Just as basically,
Huh?
if the two of you are possibly going to be there,
Yeah, I
nobody
did
else
get an
can
email
go.
from directly from the guy.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go.
I
sooner
can
or later.
assure you, I'm not going.
Yeah,
I
Can't
can
make-
Don't
review
worry
it.
about me.
I just want to see what they have to say, and actually the later the better, because then they might actually have more done, right?
You guys could ride together, save us mileage.
I'll think.
Well, that depends on my schedule. You can't make my decisions.
okay,
I might have to go somewhere. You don't know. What are we saying, Mayor?
most of it was you.
Is it-
That's the only thing we're discussing. There's no motion and.
I will tell you, I did hear from Paula, who is the clerk in Mount Morris and is heavily involved with the Ogle County Economic Development Committee. And she did reach out to me with some interest after we received that grant as to how we received it and what we applied for. So I was interested in that.
Who called?
Paula, the clerk for Mount Morris, she does their economic development for Mount Morris and is heavily involved in the Ogle County Committee.
Did they get any money?
They did not.
Oh,
Is she a competitor of mine?
That's the
We-
answer.
I can't.
You should have met her. You should have
Oh,
already
I
met
should
her.
probably
Bill.
real-
She attends all those
Maybe I
meetings.
have
And I
met
guess
her.
we're
Oh, yeah, she
fighting
attends all
for
those
residents.
meetings.
Nice. Well, am I gonna be there,
if you show up, you're there.
represent,
You show up, you're there.
representing us?
Exactly.
Representing our
If
board?
you show up, you're representing.
Okay.
You represent the
before,
610. We should get shirts instead.
Oh. Okay, so let's clarify that real quick then. The statement prior was that the board agreed that you could attend, but not as a representative of the board.
Just as a trustee gathering information.
Wait a minute. Okay, what's the score then? It hasn't changed? We're not going to be part of the economic development thing then?
You're just there as a trustee from the village to gather information.
Well, last time they want us to pay money and we said.
That was a different one.
It was?
Same
No,
one.
same group. They've no
Same
longer
one.
decided we need to pay money.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
We found
improvement.
But I feel like we've been successful.
So
without
nothing's
it.
changed.
Yes, I see no problem with going and seeing what they have to say. That's not an issue. I wouldn't, if I attended, I wouldn't pretend to represent the whole board because I'm just one vote, so. You'd have to see what they have to say.
I think that's a fair statement.
All right, moving on.
Oh.
Public,
Glenda,
everybody looks at the name.
I know.
Glenda,
Gonna wait for all the letters to move around.
Wednesday, she'll put the J and the G in different spots.
No. Glenda, did you have anything?
You muted?
She's
Yes and
still
no.
muted.
she took a nap.
While she's unmuting, I'll let you know that there is a planning and zoning meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That's a
There
first
she
in a
is.
while.
I don't have anything, and for some reason, this went to a 2-inch screen.
Oh, no.
We're the we people now.
On the lower right-hand corner of that 2-inch screen, there should be like a little box with an arrow. If you click that, it should expand it.
It's amazing what happens when you know what you're doing. Thank you, Sandy.
All right. Public's done. All we have left is adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
John makes a motion to adjourn. Chris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adjourned at 7:52.